You're watching day 2 of me breaking down why I like all of my favorite anime OPs. If you missed the first part where I explain in more detail and go over the first 20, it's linked in the description as well as the video of all the OPs. We're going to be starting from 79 and working our way down to number 60, or maybe 80 to 60. Did I do 21 in the last video without thinking about it? I don't remember. We'll find out in 1 second. At number 79, I have Satsugai from Detroit Metal City, possibly the only straight up death metal anime OP, at least that I know of. And it's pretty fucking badass. I mean, it's a great death metal song. It's heavy, intense. It has some really awesome drumming, especially in the chorus. But most importantly in this case is the lyrics, which are absolutely hilarious. The first line being like, "I am a terrorist from hell. I murdered my mom and dad because I'm a terrorist." Like, just... I love that Detroit Metal City unflinchingly just goes for the edgiest possible lyrics, and they are fucking hilarious. The chorus, of course, is just murder, just Satsugai Seo, just like, I will kill you, I am going to commit murder, essentially. Yeah, it's awesome. It's the decision to make the OP like the band actually doing a performance, I think is a great idea, especially for a show that was never going to have like an incredible looking performance scene in the show itself. It's nice that you have one in the OP so that you have a general sense of like what the shows are really meant to look like and feel like. And it's also got lots of funny stuff in it. I mean, obviously there's the gimp man who the pig slave that they have on stage, who's in the show as well. The moments when like all the characters look towards the camera in each direction. But it's also badass, like when at the very end when Krauser is like walking towards the camera all covered in shadow and he grabs onto it. Just, it's that perfect combination of being like really legit death metal, like a great death metal song you would actually listen to as a death metal song while also being hilarious. It's the same combination that Metalocalypse did so well as a Western cartoon, and just like that show, this one is full of awesome music and just great ideas. But whereas Metalocalypse was like really fantastical and absurd, this show is more grounded and realistic, where the absurdity is just in the mythology of the character of Krauser, not in his literal actual life. Yeah, great fucking OP. Great soundtrack also. Like, there's not a lot of music used in the show itself, but they did make a Detroit Metal City like companion album that has a bunch of other death metal songs. It's worth checking out. At number 78, I've got the Dot Hack Sign OP, taking me way the hell back to the old Toonami days. Actually, it wasn't even Toonami. I think it was just on the Saturday block that came before Adult Swim that was briefly a part of Cartoon Network that not very many people seem to remember. But this OP is... first of all, from my favorite soundtrack, the Dot Hack Sign soundtrack, I am absolutely obsessed with. It fits right in with the tone. I don't know if Yuki Kajiura was actually involved in the OP. It's by a group called Seesaw. But it sounds like it fits in with the rest of the OST. It's basically just a cool techno song, got a really kind of dark, groovy beat. The layered vocals with lots of reverb. It feels kind of, I guess, new agey in a way. There's like a mystical, mysterious feeling to it with the lyrics, deep in the night, far from the light, kissing my headache, or whatever she says. It's just really memorable. The vocals sound great. It's the opening where it has like sound like ripping right in, gets you heated in the moment, and the video is probably the best thing that B-Train was ever responsible for. Like, there's actually a bunch of really great character animation in it, particularly of the dancing Tron techno girl who has nothing to do with the show, who's just like breaking down in the fucking video. She is fucking getting it in. It's a lot of fun to watch, and all the characters, of course, look great. Same character designer as Evangelion worked on this show, and when the artwork actually looks good, they look quite nice. My favorite part as a kid was always the part where each of them passes in front of the camera and their body gets like slashed in half and then comes back, like it glitches out or something. Fitting, of course, with the hack and the Dot Hack sign. Yeah, it's a neat OP, very memorable, very unique, and of course fitting with the tone of the show being about getting trapped inside of a video game. I mean, it's a very early 2000s like idea of what, you know, being trapped in a video game would mean, like that whole techno, internet, dark web like kind of vibe, but I love it. At number 77, I've got Uninstall by Chiaki Ishikawa, the Bokurano OP that is probably a lot more famous than the show itself. Bokurano, you know, whatever anime, the manga is incredible. I wouldn't bother with the anime over the manga, but I'm a big fan. But the song is legendary, mostly because of just the haunting, gorgeous, soaring vocals of Chiaki Ishikawa, just going above, like just rising above this instrumental and taking you straight into the sky with her uninstall. It's such just a heart-wrenching melody. The chorus is immediately memorable, gets right into your head. It's a ton of fun to sing along to in whatever voice you want to do it. I've seen about 1,000 karaoke's of this song at Otakon. It's one of those that, like, every year a bunch of people are going to do it because it's just such a good song. The beat is pretty much just like a standard electro pop beat. It's got, you know, a nice thick and creamy bass line, basically just playing 4 chords, but, and, you know, some flourishes in the background. But, like, this is all about the vocals. It's just the strength of how great her voice sounds, how memorable that melody is, how haunting and yet catchy it is. Like, it's rare that you hear a pop song that fills you with such a feeling of, like, unease and mystery, which suits the tone of Bokurano perfectly. Again, I really haven't, I won't even make claims about the anime really because I haven't watched more than the first episode. I was not impressed with it, and from what I've heard, the director changed a lot about the story because he just didn't like the manga. I love the manga, but, you know, nonetheless, I will return to this OP again and again. The video is really nothing to write home about. It's just kind of scenes of the characters from the show, not really anything exciting happening, not that aesthetically interesting. Just about the song, man. At number 76, I have Guardian Angel, the OP of Technolize by Juno Reactor, which is a group that I don't really know about, but apparently is a very famous techno group. You know, lots of people were really excited that they did this anime OP. It's kind of interesting that this show came out around the same time as like Ergo Proxy and Gankutsuo, who, as I mentioned before, all use this effect of having the OP be just full of overlayered imagery, like all these different, like, just cool textures and scenes from the show and just aesthetic stuff to create this, like, blended vibe. I don't know if this is just a sign of the times, but I mean, they also all used foreign music, so maybe this was just what was trendy in, like, the hip, edgy anime of like, 2006. But whatever the case may be, it's a pretty lit song. I also think it's funny that I have, like, all of my, like, techno-y songs are, like, right here in the 70s. Like, clearly this isn't my favorite genre, but it's one that I enjoy more than, you know, say, J-pop, which you'll see very little of on my list overall. But yeah, it's just, like, a dark techno song. It sounds cool. It's got a nice, you know, catchy melody to it, not really anything overly complex. It's more about the sonic textures, as techno tends to be. There's just a lot of cool sounding effects in there. It's pretty memorable for being a, you know, vocalless techno song. The full-length track is like a 7-minute trance song, basically. So, yeah, I think it's pretty lit. I like to hear that dark, gritty techno sound. It matches with this being a sort of really dark take on, I guess you could call it cyberpunk. I mean, it's very different from most cyberpunk stories, but it's even more gritty and gross than most of those. And it has the extremely memorable opening bit where the guy says, "If there's anything you want, anything at all, come to me. I'll be your guardian angel." Before the like Mortal Kombat theme song sounding like synths. Yeah, It's dank stuff, dude. Speaking of the underrepresented genre of J-pop on my list, we have the Gurren Lagann OP, which I had to warm up to, honestly, over time. I wasn't immediately grabbed by it back when the show came out, but hearing it over the years, especially in like OP compilations and stuff, and you know, seeing how emotional other people got about like hearing the song in the last episode caused me to kind of pay more attention to it and eventually to feel some of that hype towards it once I watched the show again. And, you know, while it is a pretty standard J-pop song, it does basically have all rock instrumentation. It's got these frenetic kind of guitars that I'm not the biggest fan of the tone of the guitars, but nonetheless, they sound pretty, you know, some pretty hard-edged and cool sounding. Better than that is the drums, which have this, like, machine gun propelling quality to them. You know, it's a pretty fun, jaunty tune, and the melody is just extremely memorable. I mean, I wouldn't say that the vocals are necessarily, like, anything to write home about, but they deliver this, you know, this very memorable chorus and opening. Really, the whole melody of all the vocals in the song is pretty memorable, pretty much an earworm, pretty pleasant, and, again, it grows on you with time. It's a song that really hasn't gotten old over the last 12 years. So, you know, that might be the best thing I can say about it. The visuals are pretty standard anime OP fare. It's exciting. You got all the characters. They're posing. They're having a good time. This is probably the most like typical anime OP that you're gonna find on my list. The one that doesn't really do anything particularly unique other than just to be like as good as you can be at being like a standard anime OP, you know, just having that strong of a melody, having that, you know, that property of not getting old, of wanting to hear it in the final episode because it's hype. You know, I think that it's a representative for the category of the type of anime song that usually comprises these OP lists, and that's what it's doing here. Now, if you want to see how to do J-pop a little bit differently, my number 74, the fourth Bakemonogatari OP, Renai Circulation, sung by Kana Hanazawa, is a perfect example. Yes, it is a super sugary, ultra sweet bubblegum pop song, but it sounds so unique because of the fact that it's mostly driven by this fat tuba line that's going through the entire song, these bouncy, bubbly synth sounds, and the very hushed, whispery voice of Hanakana herself, which is a genius way of using what she's capable of. I mean, Hanakana can't sing. That has been made clear to me over the years through her, you know, her attempts. When she does sing, they have to use a considerable amount of auto-tune to make it sound good, but having her do this kind of spoken word, almost like rapping throughout the song, plays to her strengths a lot better, and just the instrumental feels like it was built around what would sound good with, you know, the character's voice. It's cutesy and fun. It's instantly memorable. The melodies will be stuck in your head forever. Yeah, it's one of those completely unforgettable OPs that took the community by storm when it came out and was instantly everywhere. And the video has such a nice aesthetic with the soft colors, the very simplistic. I mean, it's another Shaft OP. Shaft OPs will always have incredible visuals. They are just so just great at aesthetics. They have the best aesthetic sense, I think, of any animation studio. It's just, I don't know if it's just the nature of the people who work there or if it's, you know, the way they're trained. I have no idea, but somebody at Shaft knows how to use colors like no one else in the industry does. So, yeah, it's just a fucking sweet time. And, of course, if you like the character Nadeko, what more could you ask for? All of the Monogatari OPs, pretty much if you like the character a whole lot, chances are the OP is going to do a lot for you. And while Nadeko is by no means my favorite Monogatari girl, this is a great way to appreciate her. At number 73, we have HT from Trigun, one of the all-time great guitar fucking driven tracks. The riffs in this song are legendary. Not just some of the best guitar riffs in an anime song, but some of the most memorable riffs of all time, in my opinion. This is, of course, performed by Tsuneo Imahori, who composed the entire soundtrack of the show, and is also just a fucking great guitar player. I have a whole video on him if you've never seen it before. Yeah, these riffs are sticky as hell. Even though this is a non-vocal song, every part of it is memorable. I could easily sing along to these guitar riffs and, you know, have them running in my head. And the way that the song just opens with these kick-ass riffs and then explodes into this big sort of, I guess we could call it a chorus, even though it's just a guitar, where you hear the come on, bow, 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 mega fucking awesome. Yeah, it fucking rips super hard. There's that little guitar solo that cuts in towards the back end where it's in a totally different tonality and it like rips way louder than the rest of the track. I love that kind of shit. Just Tsuneo Imahori is such a great fucking producer. The way that he uses sounds in his tracks, the way that he uses different guitar tonalities and stuff. He really knows his way around his equipment, which is something that I always have a ton of respect for. A lot of anime music, even that I like, is not that well produced, so it's always exciting to get to hear something like that. And the visuals are fucking great too, because Trigun, while the show itself doesn't always have the best animation, the art design of it is really great. The characters look awesome, the setting is extremely memorable and creative and cool. This like Wild West on Mars with all these like crazy giant light bulb plant things and stuff. And you see a lot of that in the OP, as well as just some really well animated action scenes of Vash running from a hail of bullets while trying to keep a bun in his mouth, or even just a scene of not Millie, what's the other girl's name? I can't remember her name, but the scene of her typing on her typewriter like more and more intensely as she like gets mad at whatever she's writing. Just that tinge of comedy in the middle of a badass action thing is, you know, again, very representative of Trigun. I'd say it captures the whole feel of the show just in the OP. It's a rip-roaring good time, and Tsuneo Imahori is a badass. At number 72, with the grandest sense of adventure heading for that grand line, is the One Piece opening We Are by... Oh, I had his name on screen, but I covered it up. Can't remember the name of the dude, but he was one of the members of Jam Project, and as such, I got to see him perform the song live when I saw them live at Otakon in 2008, and it was hype as hell. This is the ultimate setting out on a journey song. As such, when I do that Otakon trip, I always do it with a gigantic playlist of all of the anime songs that I like, and, well, you know, usually me and my friends, all the songs we like, and we tend to start off with the One Piece OP, so you know you're heading off on that grand adventure. It's just such a like energetic and peppy song, while also being one that has that sense of grandiosity. I think they accomplished this by having, you know, the bass and drums be sort of hurried and, you know, and like stepping along at a nice pace, while hanging in the background is all these synths and orchestral elements that are playing these long, drawn out, flying high notes, along with the vocals that are also, you know, like for the most part very drawn out, spacious. He's not singing constantly, so you've got like, you know, big spaces in between it. Yeah, it makes it feel like you're traveling this great distance. And then, of course, the way that the chorus just explodes open. Aritakero yume o kakiatsume. You're like, yeah, fucking sailing across the goddamn ocean. And the imagery of the OP reflects it perfectly. It's all out on the sea. Even though One Piece itself, you know, doesn't really take place that much on the ocean. Usually it's on an island with them, you know, being in one of the adventures, but just by seeing all this ocean iconography, it constantly reminds you at the start of the show that you are on the epic journey, that you're still traveling with the Straw Hats, going to new places, seeking new things, you know. It's definitely cheesy, it definitely feels like the opening of a kid's show, but it's just so damn memorable and so integral to the feel of the show. It always shocks me to hear that they even changed the OP. I know there's more than even two. I think there's a few One Piece OPs, but this one is, in my mind, just so emblematic of the series that it's hard for me to imagine One Piece without it. And of course I haven't, you know, watched the later episodes or anything, so I wouldn't even know what the other OPs are, but this one is legend. And of course the dub OP is legend as well. Yayo! At number 71, I've got Hacking to the Gate, the Steins Gate OP, which admittedly is another one that had to grow on me. It had not left a strong impression when I first watched the show, but seeing how popular it was, hearing it in OP lists over the years, I gradually came to like it more and more, and to see how it does reflect the show in a lot of interesting ways. Particularly, I love that it opens with this really heavy, oppressive, downward spiraling guitar that keeps going like lower and lower, but as the orchestral instrumentation swells up from under it, so it's kind of like you're going deeper and deeper into this darkness, but there's this hope emerging, this singular point rising up out of the chaos that's going on as you spiral downwards with all these bleep bloops and shit going on in the background. I love the parts of the song that are heavier. I love how it goes from these very sparse verses into these explosive, bombastic bits with all this extra backing instrumentation. I would say that I'm not the biggest fan of like all the tonalities of the instruments and stuff. I think that the bass line is kind of farty sounding, but nonetheless, the structure of the song is really nice. The way that it explodes into these pockets, the transition into the chorus when she screams "Sentakue hacking to the gate" is pretty great, and just the vocals are really the standout element of the song. She has such a unique voice. It's very interesting. You won't hear another OP that quite sounds like it just because of that. And I think that's probably the main draw for a lot of people. Her voice just sounds really cool. And, the vocal melodies, the lyrics are all just aesthetically interesting. Then you've got the video, which I love. I love that it's this weird, like, almost glitch art piece where it looks like time and space are getting distorted, like different timelines are being projected onto each other. Even before you understand what the show's about, just seeing this makes you it deepens the mystery of the show considerably, because you just want to know what could this show be about that would cause the OP to look like this. For what would make this make sense as the OP, and then once it's that much more hard hitting. It's another one that just fits the tone of the show so well that I think they did a great job, and it's extremely unique. The part where you have Kurisu, like you're going down like a tunnel of Kurisu clones all with their arms stretched out, is pretty iconic. So another solid OP. At number 70, I have the second OP to Ranma One Half, which is just a quintessential 80s pop track. It's got all the elements. It's got the cheesy synth melodies that are instantly memorable, the backbeat, the driving bass line, but it's a song that really propels itself forward at a fun clip. You never feel like it's too static in the way that a lot of songs produced this way are, and the female vocals are really interesting in this one as well. It's another one with like a deeper voiced singer who just sounds really cool. I like the way that they mix her voice in the song, and you've got some pretty fun melodies and lyrics. I love the transition between the verse and chorus, where the instruments all kind of go like this zip bah kind of sound. I don't know how to describe it better than that, but it's a great transition, and you have the ultimate start of chorus lyric, "I'm a lonely girl, so lonely girl." That line alone is like 80% of what's so good about the song. I distinctly remember the first time I heard it just being like, oh, this is the best. Like, I'm going to be singing this for the rest of my life. So, it's also just a delightful little video. Ranma has such really excellent character designs. They all look really good in this OP on these just, single color static backgrounds that are aesthetically pleasing. There's lots of shots of just them doing stuff. Of course, the shot of Ranma like training in front of a tidal wave that plays during the most memorable part of the song is easily the most iconic image of it. But yeah, this is just like a nice song. It's just a nice listenable tune. I don't know that it necessarily complements the show specifically all that well in the way the last couple I talked about did, but it's one of those songs I just don't dislike any part of, I guess, which you would think would, be like standard for liking a song, but we're still in the back part of my OPs list where we haven't quite gotten to songs that like I am fucking absolutely in love with until, these last few where we're kind of dipping into the pool of songs that would be on my iPod as opposed to just ones that I love as anime OPs. So, yeah, just a really good song. At number 69, I've got the Shingeki no Bahamut OP. I don't even remember what it's called. Existence. This song is just a dank-ass nu metal song, and as you are going to find as we progress through this list, I am somewhat of a purveyor of the genre of nu metal. It's sort of defined my upbringing, and I'll tell you what the difference is between a good and bad nu metal song. It's how seriously they take themselves. Nu metal songs that are just fun, upbeat, energetic, and like aggressive are the good ones. The nu metal songs that kind of are like sincerely edgy and like take themselves seriously, they tend to not age so well or to just come off as really corny and bad. But this one, tons of fun, definitely borrowing from the playbook of like System of a Down and of course a little bit of Maximum the Hormone, who also are borrowing from the playbook of System of a Down. But the way that it transitions from the heavy chugging riff at the intro, which is a pretty generic riff, but the way that it's timed with the drums sounds really good. It gets you headbanging, and then when everything cuts out and you hear him say, "Everybody says black and white, but the world is so gray," and then like that's a great little kind of, what's the word I want to use? Like it's got that like salsa or even maybe Middle Eastern flair to it in a way that is what like System of a Down would put into their kind of sound. The fact that it mixes in this kind of semi-rapped vocals, but they sound good. The vocalist sounds great all throughout this song. I love the lyrics. I love that the chorus, he says, "All I want to be is me." Great shit. All the transitions are great. The glistening chorus is made good by like the guitars that are, going off in the background. I don't know how to fucking describe the way that the song is being performed. It's just a really good sounding nu metal song. It's fun to thrash to. It's, again, not very self-serious. Definitely a song that I would listen to casually in my own time. And the video is pretty cool too. I mean, this is another show with fantastic character designs that are great to look at. They use these visual overlays to give it like this rustic appeal that kind of looks like it's meant to be a card game, which, I mean, it's based on a mobile card game. So I like the way that looks. I like how there's like elements of the screen that are animated, which are in color, while the rest of it is in the like sepia tone. The fact that you see the main character like fire off 3 arrows along with the black and white, but the world, like it holds in place. It's a memorable moment. This show is not very good after the first 4 episodes, and so I can't say that I like remember the relevance of everything that I'm seeing in the OP, but I can't deny such a delightful nu metal track. At number 68, I have the Lupin III OP, and I put in this video the one from Part 4 because that was the one that I could find easily. For some reason, I couldn't find the Lupin III Part 2 opening as easily, which is the most memorable one, but they're all the same song, just interpreted and arranged differently. It's just such an unbelievably memorable melody. If you've heard the Lupin III opening, it's probably been stuck in your head before. They used to play it in the commercials for the show on Adult Swim, and of course, when they had Part 2 on Adult Swim, I would hear the OP, and it stuck with me even from when I was a teenager. And I was not really into like jazz at the time. I was not into instrumental music in particular at the time. It's just that memorable, and it's so slick and cool, perfectly represents the tone of Lupin, what it is, this globe-trotting thief adventure, where, about the ultimate master thief guy. If you described to someone the plot of Lupin and then played them the OP, they would be like, yeah, that's exactly what I would expect to be the OP of that show. And I love that it's been reinterpreted so many times over the years. It's exciting to get to hear a new version, I mean, the Part 2 opening I don't actually know what the part 1 opening is like, because I've never seen any of part 1, but the one from part 2 has just the thriving horns that, you know, the melody is mostly comprised of, which is why I think it's the most memorable. You know, with part 4, they tried to make it like a more low-key version that uses more keyboards for the lead melodies, and it's an interesting interpretation. It kind of relies on the fact that you would already know the original, because, you know, if this was your first exposure, it probably wouldn't be the most memorable song, but, like, you know, the fact that it's a reinterpretation is what makes it cool. And the visuals of the Part 4 OP are phenomenal. You have those great Takeshi Koike character designs, just the whole, just, you know, really rough aesthetic of the show, where everything has those harsh outlines and that darker color palette. Really, such a unique palette I've never really seen in another show. It's one of the coolest looking shows around. So yeah, every version of the Lupin the Third OP deserves to be equally praised for its just slick, cool fucking vibe. At number 67, I have the Casshern Sins OP, and this one is purely based on the song because the video is garbage. I don't know what they were thinking with the Casshern's OP video, because it's just a bunch of stills of, like, barely recognizable imagery from the show. Like, the first, like, 20 seconds is just a close-up of Casshern's chest. You can't even tell what you're looking at first. So many of the images are so close up. They're not even really timed with the music. It's just kind of like a slideshow that's playing alongside the song, which is really a crime because the song is so good. It's another one with an incredibly memorable chorus, really great vocals. I love that it's this sort of acoustic rock song. Like, it's performed with, like, a heavy, intense sound, but because the instrumentation is, you know, non-electric, it's got this folksy vibe, a little bit, like, bluesy. I love just I just love the way the song sounds. It's another one that I've regularly had on my iPod because I think it's dope. I love the chorus. Ne ima to shita boku ra umareta no, ne hora to shita boku ra de atta no, wakaranakute kowai kara tsunai nako no deo, imaki mi ni tsuyoku. One of those long choruses. I'm a big fan of, like, long melodic choruses that, you know, you could sing all the way through. And we got one of those here. It's a little bit of a repetitive song, honestly, because they do sing the chorus like 5 times. But who can deny a great chorus and just a great sounding song? Not me, that's for sure. At number 66, I have Shut Up and Explode, the opening of Zammed Lost Memories by Boom Boom Satellites. Again, I have to give a rest in peace to the lead singer of this band who died just a couple years ago. I don't remember what, but he sounds great over this song. He's got that kind of nasally voice, but he sounds just really cool because of the way that he sings, like the turn off your mind now, want it and you see how high the cloudy sky. And what Boom Boom Satellites is basically an electronic rock outfit that has just a pummeling, overwhelming sound. They don't try to really sound like electronic or rock music. They use the two to complement each other in a really interesting way. And while I don't necessarily love every song they've ever made, this is one of my favorites. I love just how pummeling and ruthless it is. It's almost structured like a post-rock song, like maybe something Mogwai would do, with these gigantic swells in intensity as you go into the chorus. And I love that they will just kind of take it'll seem like he's singing normally, and then one bit will just get looped for a while. So the sort of infamous chorus of the song is just run away, run away, run away, run away, run away, run away. And if you listen to the full length of the song, it goes on for like 33 seconds. I personally love it because, I mean, I just want to run away, run away, run away, run away. Definitely a song that should be on your running playlist if you have one. It's very appropriate. It's such a just fun, slick, cool song that is clearly made for you to go apeshit too. And the video reflects this. Bones, of course, second only to Shaft at making great OP videos, whereas Shaft is all about the aesthetics. Bones is all about just making something fun and memorable with like the narrative going through the video. And in this case, they timed a lot of it to the music. You've got characters tapping their feet to the beat at the start. You've got, you know, when the runaway starts, a great big action scene breaks out. And Zammed has some of the best action animation in, you know, anime history, probably. It looks incredible. So just watching this OP is a lot of fun. You're definitely going to get like a huge hit of what Bones is so damn good at just by watching this OP. It's hype, it's memorable, and it makes you want to run away, run away, run away, run away. At number 65, I've got the Yu Yu Hakusho OP Smile Bomb, and I actually put on the English version, and I'll explain why. This is just a funky, fresh pop track. I don't know, is this city pop? Does this qualify as city pop? It's got that kind of vibe, that, you know, like pre-packaged future funk kind of vibe. And it's just a really fun killer track with uplifting lyrics. It's basically bloomer core for sure. And the animation looks great in the video. Yu Yu Hakusho is one of the best looking anime ever made. The character designs are great. Everything that goes on looks good. Pretty standard anime OP visuals. It's just how fun and jaunty the song is that really brings it to life. But why I picked the English language version is that Yu Yu Hakusho has probably my favorite dub ever, like the only one that I will sincerely watch, not like an ironically fun dub like Garzy's Wing or something. It just had so much love put into it, and you can really see that exemplified in this OP, because it's just the exact same song as the Japanese version, but with an English singer singing the translated lyrics, and she's actually a good singer who sounds a lot like the original vocalist. So I even think they might have re-recorded the track itself, because the Japanese version sounds just much older. Like, I've never heard like a super high quality rip of it. It could just be that I've never found it, but I've only ever heard it in lower quality. The English version seems to be just like cleaned up a bit and pops a little bit more, so it just kind of sounds better. And I won't say that the lyrics sound better in English or even that the vocalist is better, but the lyrics are so impactful, and like I remember them from my childhood, hearing, then suddenly my intuition and my wisdom grow, and then I know. Like, that always stuck with me, especially just the line about just like, thank you for waking me up. Like the appreciation that this song has for the growth that the singer has undergone as a person as a result of being around people and experiencing, just the kindness of others. And that's a really good fit for the show, because it's really all about Yusuke's growth into becoming a better person. And it's pretty powerful to think about when you're listening to the song. Yeah. Great fucking track, super memorable, super heartwarming. At number 64, I have The World God Only Knows, which is the name of the OP of the show. And this one, I'll admit, I'm cheating a little bit, because I mostly love this song for the full length, which is an 8-minute suite, and it is epic, and I can't believe it's real. I've never been able to get over it. It's so fucking good. It's this weird mix of like electronic dance music, like highfalutin fucking orchestral shit, and hilarious English lyrics with like 10 layers of backup singers. It is very bizarre, and I absolutely love it. This particular part of the song that's used in the OP is one of the best parts for sure. It starts off with this very low, like tension-filled, like kind of intense techno beat that's going, but it's like really low, and you've got these frittering, fleeting keys, these pianos playing over top of that. It's a really great contrast, and then the vocals kind of in the middle, slowly rising in tension as the song gets more intense, and you start getting the cheesy fucking electronic noises coming in, and it all builds and builds, but then when it disperses, you're expecting to hit some kind of, heavy, big open chorus. Instead, the electronic elements drop out completely, and you have this Baroque piano and violin piece with the vocals singing, God only knows, totally Baroque and cool. And then you have the chord progression that starts entering along with it, this descending chord progression played on the cheesy electronic noises again. It just sounds like nothing else. Like, this is such a distinct song, and you know, the only complaint I would have is that we only hear like 2 parts of this like 6 or 7 part track in the OP, and it inevitably feels a little bit truncated. The visuals are pretty neat. Actually, there's this effect that they use where in the chorus, when the main character is walking towards the camera and like each different element of the world around him is like being constructed digitally, like phasing into existence. That's a pretty neat effect. Most of it's just like generic inside of a computer kind of stuff, which, you know, looks cool, but it all revolves around this PSP, which is presented as like this heavenly object, this all-important godly PSP, which, you know, is where the comedy element comes in. Like, the whole thing is clearly tongue-in-cheek, clearly not meant to be taken seriously, which just adds to the glory of it. I am a huge fan. At number 63, I've got Mirai wa Bokura no Te no Naka from Kaiji, which is just a quick hit of pure punk rock bliss. It sounds great, charging guitars, cool punk gruff voice. The lyrics are excellent. We don't need no rules. We don't need no morals. You know, I think the chorus, he's saying something like, I don't regret being born, or something like that. Umarete kita wake janai yo. But being born wasn't a mistake. Something like that. It's just fucking great punk rock. And I think the full track is just like only twice the length of the 50-second OP. It is a very short burst of energy, and I love short punk rock songs that are memorable all the way through. No fucking unneeded space. It's great. Moving along. At number 62, I've got the Gatchaman Crowds OP by the band White Ash, and this one pretty much owes entirely to just the unique sound of that band. I mean, structurally, it's a pretty typical J-Rock song. There's nothing really all that unique about it other than just the sound of the singer's voice and the guitar tones and like just what chords they chose. It's got this very dark, sort of mysterious chord progression that sounds really cool, kind of bleak in a way while still being upbeat and fun. It's very bass driven with this heavy bass and underneath everything, and the guitars are more of that classic rock and roll jangly sound. But the vocalist is, you will never hear someone who sounds like them, and they have such a unique vocal melody line throughout the song. Huge, soaring, memorable chorus, of course. I would compare it to something like a Bucktick song, but with just a very different vocal take. And the vocalist is actually a man, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know what they identify as, but it's a guy who sounds like a woman with a really husky voice, and it sounds really cool. They've got some other good songs too, worth looking into if you like this track. I also love just the pummeling, like off-time guitar bursts that start the song. The dan 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 dan. Like, I'm just into that kind of off-kilter rhythmic playing in general. But, you know, again, aside from that, it's pretty much just a cool J-Rock song with a great sounding vocalist and, you know, guitar tone. Visually, it's just scenes of, you know, Gatchaman crowds. I like the aesthetic of the show, but it is a bit of a weird clusterfuck. It's not my favorite. I wouldn't say that I would watch this just for the visuals or anything. It's mostly, like, you know, it's an effective opening video that matches the song well, but it's really the song that makes it onto the list. It's just so cool and unique sounding. And at number 61, because I'm not going to fuck up and do the next one that's on the 10 this time, I've got the first Gintama OP, Pray by Tommy Heavenly, which, much like the last song that I talked about, is more or less just a standard J-rock song, but with a kind of unique sound. And whereas White Ash is a band with a really interesting overall tone, they clearly like have crafted a sound, Tommy Heavenly songs do kind of sound like they were produced in a bedroom on FL Studio. It's clearly no real instrumentation. The drums sound fake as hell, but I do like just how wailing and loud the guitars are. They're all just very straightforward, pummeling, fun, pop rock guitar chords, but it's all about her voice. She just has a really unique voice, very distinct. I love the sound of it. You're going to have a couple Tommy Heavenly songs on this list because I like her vocals so much. So, she also comes up with just really memorable melodies. I would say all of the melodies throughout the song stick in my head. Verse, chorus, interim, all of it, which I guess is what she's best at. She just writes really great vocal lines and sings them well. What more could you really want? I guess plenty. There's plenty more you could want, but it's enough for me. And the video is, it set the tone for what every Gintama OP was going to be. Basically just a showcase of all of the major characters, usually some scooter riding and, to give it a sense of momentum, but mostly just showing everybody. The Gintama OPs are always hilarious in that they are so consistent. There's so many of them and they're all basically exactly the same, usually with just some kind of funny ending bit, which in this case is Gintoki getting his head bit by Sadaharu, which is a great memorable image to end off the OP on. But yeah, just a fun pop rock song with a great vocal performance. Tommy Heavenly, I don't know what happened to her. I haven't heard any new OPs from her in a while, but I like the ones I got. And that's it for this edition of the OPs list. Tune in tomorrow, and I'll go through 20 more of the fuckers.